advocates whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
All right, let's see if we've got sound before I get too far in my monologue, because sometimes I screw up. So I'm going to look for a one or a wave or something from somebody backstage. Let me know you guys can hear me. Okay, I got a wave from backstage so you guys can hear me. All right. Actually, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the case, because maybe my panelists can hear me, but you guys can't hear me. But I'm pretty certain, I'm almost certain that we are actually live. So welcome to It's Just Another Manic Tuesday. It doesn't have quite the same ring as the 80s song, the Manic Monday thing. But anyways, it's good enough. We're gonna do it. And we're going to do it live. Welcome to the show. My panelists are assembling backstage. I think we're going to have another panelist. So we've got Robin backstage. I've got Joe from State of the Deep. I think I'm going to have one backstage. We're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. Let me say some hellos to the people in the house. Mitchell, Callahan, Brian, and Innocent, and it's proved already. Nice. Thank you. Welcome to this. I swear one of those people coming out in 112 block was female. Yep. Got Amanda. Hello to Lee and the Denizens. Got Essie in the house. Welcome. And the Hulktress. The Hulktress from Nampa, Idaho. New member. Thank you so much for joining and becoming, well, not joining for, yeah, a new member means member. Thank you for joining and becoming a member. Very, very cool. I appreciate that very much. Is JCXOXO, whatever. If nothing stops me within the 74 minutes, I'll get to watch a live for the first for once in a or twice. Nice. If you're new to lives, by the way, I love to try to highlight new comments. So hopefully, by the way, Robin is one of the only people, Amanda, I think, and Robin are like the only people with wrenches. We're trying to work on getting some more people with, and if you don't know what that means, moderators, trying to get some more moderators because we've experienced a little bit of rapid growth in the last couple of days. And we're like, if we're going to have a room that's even remotely close to what we had last night, we're going to need help. So we're working on that. We have people who are willing to do it, but it's a little convoluted. Like I'm just, how to add a member, you have to have their URL, and so we said, like, they don't make it easy for me, so I spent a lot of time fumbling with it. I'm just like, I just want to add a couple of people and get them, and I couldn't even do it for tonight's show, so we'll just have to struggle through. Welcome to Crime Spy. It's good to see you. I think Crime Spy has been around before for sure. Thank you for coming in the show. Cat Farm as well does all of our great AI music and many other things. Amanda does a lot of our graphics and many things. SE does a lot of things as well. Robin's backstage, of course. She Devil, my wife's in the house backstage. No, she's not backstage, but she is back in the other room. Also support. We're trying to get her a wrench because she had a wrench with her other account, but now this account that has the She Devil on it, she doesn't have a wrench, and I couldn't get it to her before the show started. So that's part of our struggles. What else do we have? Just trying to see some. I love it when you guys shout out where your locations are. We got Nick Malay, 1980. Welcome as well. And there goes that thing again. Like, I don't know why one comes immediately to stage when he pops in backstage. That's a super weird thing. Like, he just comes up and like, boo, I'm here. It's a good thing that he doesn't do anything embarrassing when he first joins the camera. You better always be prepared. You never know when you're going to be absolutely live right in the middle of my monologue. And it's fantastic. So I just, hey, both of us will work through that shit. Just don't do anything embarrassing. Let's see. You got other people like Foxy Rose. Welcome. I see Foxy Rose on Cat's Mojo as well. So again, a lot of regulars and some new people, which is super cool. I won't spend forever on this. I am trying to speed through this as quickly. Just kind of hit the highlight. Jules Zamora, hello everyone, and let's see what else we got. Troubled Ocean, of course, regular. Joanne 7891. Let's see, I think we're Open Your Peepers, regular in the house. Thank you so much. Almost caught up. I can't. Nope, not going to get caught up because it just keeps coming and coming and coming. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined up recently. The campaign that we're waging, which is a public records request campaign. I know I'm not the only YouTuber doing it, but we did gain a lot of traction the other night. We made a pretty big splash. I've got a GoFundMe page that we put together because it costs a lot to do this, and we're putting pressure on. That GoFundMe has tripled in size since when we started it. So I think when I went live the other night, it was like $200 and something bucks. It's now $1,200. So thank you so much. The troops are rallying. People are getting behind the message and getting behind the movement and realize that and they're seeing what feels like real results, some real things going on. So thank you so much for all of that support. We are going to press forward every single day. Every day I'm going down to the post office. Finally. By the way, I'm going to tell a little story for our local post office, and hopefully it doesn't. Well, you know what? Before I get into the story, before I talk forever, let me bring my panelists up on that. Well, welcome the panelists. That way they can be part of my story about the post office and all about that. So Robin, co-producer of our show. How are you doing tonight, Robin?
Doing well, thank you. Always good to be here with you and all the denizens, our mods and everyone. Great to see we're getting some more new people, and yeah, great to be here as always.
Give me a second because I thought I had Bluetooth on and you're coming over my main speakers. I'm afraid we'll get some reverb. So once again, technical difficulties are in my wheelhouse. Let me see if I can get my headset connected. And then, and that way, I mean, I don't know if people are hearing the echo because we have a pretty good microphone that's directional, so maybe we're okay. But I think we're all right. Now speak to me. Make sure I can hear you through my headset.
Do I have an echo now?
No, you don't. It's beautiful. You didn't have an echo before. I just thought that other people might be hearing an echo, but we're good.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, it's good to see you. I hope that you're prepared for the growth that we've been having lately because we're growing pretty fast in the last couple of days. So hold on to your hats. We have some adjustments to make, right? We have some adjustments to make. Joe from Speed of the D put him right in the center. He's got shit flanked on him on both sides, not blocked by anything yet. If I add a fourth person, they're going to get buried. So I'll have to remove some things from the screen. How you doing tonight, Joe? And let me make sure your microphone's off. There you go. How you doing?
I'm great. What's up, DA? What's up, Robin? How you guys doing? What's up, Dan?
It's great to see you as always. Joe, Joe feels like the more, I mean, he probably wouldn't word it this way, but I feel like Joe is the more intellectual side of our show. He's kind of that serious guy with some deep topics and all that CIA shit in the background and follow the money. And you got to, it's BlackRock and they're funded by this. And they're like, Joe, you're going deep. Which is why he has State of the Deep as his moniker and his channel, and he's working on. And so I'm glad that he's an addition to the thing. That our panel is assembled with different strengths, right? And I think one of the things that's happening lately is a lot of people are saying how much they love our panel, that we do provide different perspectives and things like that. So it's good to see you, Joe. I'm going to remove some things from the screen so that you don't get buried. And then I'll bring up another one of our panelists and explain for those who don't know our other panelist. There's one, the interrupter taking over my stream, popping on right in the middle of my monologue, and NYPD. He thinks that he has the right because he's NYPD. He's like, you know what? You will obey the law. You will respect my authority. So he just comes in here and steps on me. But it's good to see you. I'll do a little bit more explanation of what your role is on the thing. But how are you doing today?
Yeah, good. How is everyone doing? Hi, JJ. Hi, Lee. Hi, Robin. Queen from behind the scenes. Long time no talk, right? Yeah. Hi, Den. Is it good to be alive in the den on a Tuesday night?
Live from New York.
Live from New York. It's Tuesday night.
What's up, Warren?
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have the panel together. I don't know if we're going to get Jason Estes tonight from Estes Crime Maze. He may or may not make it. We'll see how that plays out. But for those again who don't know, 1-1 is a current NYPD officer, over 20 years experience. We love asking him questions about the law. In fact, if we get to some of the Luigi Manjone content at the end, which I plan to, there's some questions I want to have about the officers, that we're going to see some footage on how the officers conducted themselves. And I just want to see if that's typical police behavior and all those things. Just kind of get perspective because, he's been there, done that. He's been around a lot of police officers, so he knows how it's done. So I'd like to get some perspective on that. And that's one of the things we do. And again, 1-1 does not represent NYPD. Part of the reason why he's got the kind of the glasses on is to kind of, make sure that you don't have 100% of his identity. And in no way, shape, or form should you view the things that are spoken by him as representative of NYPD's positions. He's not necessarily speaking, he's not speaking for them, and his positions may or may not be representative of NYPD. More than likely, maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to say more than likely not, because I'm sure there's plenty of NYPD who think like you do. But anyways, it's great to have our panelists here. We got a new member. It looks like Christina Reynolds got another membership signed up right now, it looks like. So thank you for being supporting the channel and doing that. So let's talk a little bit about that post office trip I was going to do. So first of all, let's remove that shit from screen and put that up. This is my welcome screen, my splash screen. I'll take away the celebration for our new member. And then I will talk, I'll talk to this slide. So I will get to the post office story in just a moment. Again, we do nightly live, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the show as leading the charge, if you will, pretty much every night except for Sunday nights, in which case when the cat is away, the mice will play. They take over my show and make me panic while I'm playing cards to wonder what the hell's happening on my show when I'm not here. But that's only once a week, so that's pretty cool. Or if I happen to be out of town and boots on the ground. And thank you for becoming another member. Got another member in the house, so that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. So we have call-in guests are always welcome. Well, not always, but most of the time are welcome. So tonight, yes, call-in guests are welcome. Let's put a link in the chat in case somebody wants to take the microphone, ask a question, or give some comments or feedback. Some of you may have seen that I've gone on screen with a group of ladies who are family law custody. They call themselves the custody queens off the clock, right? So they're family law certified lawyers in California. The pair of them, Sam and Kristen, known as the custody queens, they've got their own channel. They've got a radio show. They're all over the place. And I love having attorneys on our show to talk about the law, break things down. they are excited with one of their cohorts in their business over there, Ron, who's an appellate lawyer. They got Ron excited about the latest video that was revealed from Moscow Police Department, the one that caused the letter writing frenzy as we started our official campaign into pressuring for more documents, and possibly we have requested a criminal investigation into the Moscow Police Department up to the Attorney General of Idaho and Idaho State Police, requesting them to start a criminal investigation based on what we have already seen, where there's indications that exculpatory information may have been withheld, and that any reasonable jury, if they had seen what we just saw, would have had reasonable doubt in this case for days, that the timeline of the official timeline of the prosecution may be in question. And so we're asking for an investigation into that. And meanwhile, I want to tell you, I'm writing letters every single day. I want to tell you some of the status of the letters that are coming back. Yes, we're getting responses from earlier stuff. It looks like we got a person backstage, Christina Reynolds, our new member, is backstage as well. And they don't have a camera on, so I can't have you wave at me, but just hang out for a minute. I'm trying to find the hardest part about having Christina come on right now is in the middle of my monologue. I don't know which case that she wants to talk about yet. So let me just get through the monologue portion, and then I will bring up Christina for some questions or comments or feedback. So Custody Queens and I are going to be doing a premiere tomorrow. Right now, I don't know how lawyers find the time. I don't know how you guys find the time. Anyways, so what happened was they said, hey, can you send me that document you sent to the attorney generals? Can you send me the document you sent to Idaho State Police? Can you send me the Google Drive that has all the files from MPD? Can you send me your 2.5 hour analysis of it? And we're going to be up all night reviewing all of it so we can talk about it. And I'm like, good luck with that. That's a lot of information, but they're fired up. They're excited to talk about it. I'm excited about talk about it. We're going to record that behind the scenes tomorrow with, again, basically 3 attorneys, one an appellate attorney. We're going to be asking Ron, their appellate attorney in particular, questions about, appeals and when is it appropriate to appeal, and what are the rights to appeal, and when you plead guilty and you waive your right to appeal, under what conditions does that still have an open avenue? We're going to talk about those kind of things and what we're seeing and moving forward. Our public records fund, as I said, let me pull this off screen for just a minute. I'm going to remove this off the screen, and I'm going to stop screen share, and I'm going to add to screen. Woo! Let's not do that. Look at how talented I am. Do all kinds of crazy shit. Share the screen. And let's go for a window, and let's go, let's share the entire screen. I will get there, I swear. Share, and then I will do this, and then I will do this, and all I wanted, that's why I couldn't see it, because it's not up on my page. Okay, here we go. So this is, for those who aren't entirely aware, probably should have saved this till after I tell you what we're doing, but this is our GoFundMe page. As you can see, the last time I refreshed, we went from like $200 and something last night to $1,270 in a matter of no time, because people are starting to get fired up about the campaign and about the letter writing. So I want to tell you a little bit about that. And what else was I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you about a little bit about the responses I got back, the new letter I have drafted. I think I'm going to read the letter to you. Let me talk about the post office thing real quick. And then after I do the post office thing, before I get into letter writing, we'll bring up Christina, because she's hanging out patiently. So Christina, if you heard this, get ready. I'll bring you up in just a moment to take the mic. So post office story. Here's what's funny. The first time I went in, the first 4 times I went into the post office, I'm giving them certified mail going to big names, the Attorney General of Idaho, and the captain of the police department, or the chief of police in Moscow PD, and the head of Idaho State Police, and they didn't blink an eye. And I'm waiting for them to be like, what the hell are you doing? And I guess probably the post office can't necessarily ask. But here's the funny thing, and I hope I don't throw anybody under the bus. I'll try to, not naming names. But today I was in there, and I had my new round of letters, and she finally said, "Can I ask what you're doing? Because you're in here like every day." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I said, "Yeah." I said, I'm filing public records requests because we're concerned that there has been mishandling of the Brian Koberger case." And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" And so at first she said, "I want to thank you so much for what you're doing and standing up for people's civil liberties and fighting that battle." She says, "But the truth is they always get their guy. So you can't hide from the law. They always get them." And I'm like, I was like, how do I have this conversation with you? Like, the whole point is they might not have got the right guy, or they might not have gotten all the people. But your idea is they always get their guy. And I'm like, you're the kind of person that goes into the jury and says, well, yeah, you're guilty. You've been arrested. They don't arrest people who aren't guilty, right? It was, but still, she thanked us for our pursuit of justice and standing up for constitutional rights. And I told her, I said, even if they got the right guy, you can't break the law to do it. So let's make sure it's done right. You guys ready to bring up Christina and see what Christina has to say?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Bring her up.
Christina, I've unmuted you're muted. Let's see. Did I have you muted or you're muted? Oh, there we go. No, I can't unmute her. Oh, we're fighting over the mic.
Okay.
There you are.
Hey, my shepherd wants to talk.
just in time for the dog. That's fantastic.
She's like, hello. Oh, no. Sorry about that. Hey, Kona.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, my shepherd. I'm a lifelong German Shepherd owner from when I was a little kid. My dad was a bad man, and I had a protection trained dog. My mom used to train the Norristown police dogs in Pennsylvania. So.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
I like you. I like you already because I'm a big lover of German Shepherds. I have one myself.
Well, yeah, I used to foster them and stuff, and I used to adopt out to a lot of police officers.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
One is your dog a former police dog, or is it just you just?
No, he's no. Mine's just he's purebred. He actually has a passport from one of the Russian countries, but he is protection trained. I did do training with him, so
I need this one protection trained.
Christina or one can answer a question. I love to educate people. Why do police departments tend to favor German Shepherds for police dogs?
Their intelligence. Their intelligence, and they're willing to work, and they have that stamina to be able to do it. And then they also they have the Malinois too, because they're a little bit leaner and they're a little bit more stealthy.
Yeah.
So they do those too, but yeah.
They have they have an unwavering loyalty to the owner. It's not, again, I've done a lot of training with, there's a lot of other great dog breeds, all kind of Rottweilers, all there's a lot of dog breeds that are great. I'm not bashing any other breed, but the German Shepherd, if when you're off the stream here and you do a search of the smartest dogs, the German Shepherd's always in the top, always listed in the top 3. And there's a reason why they're one of the breeds that tends to, I would say, they turn on their owner less than any other breed. They have an unwavering loyalty to the owner. So
they do, yes, definitely.
All right, what do you got on your mind, Christina? Do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to ask this question because I saw this strange, I saw an expose that a comedian John Oliver did on his thing, and he talked about this thing called felony murder, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So now felony murder, he brought up these cases. He does really good exposés and does a funny spin on them. And it kind of got me thinking, and I'm just kind of thinking, because of the felony murder thing, this guy literally is in life, in jail for life, because he lent his keys to his roommate, and his roommate committed a murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a different case? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a different case. So I'm just saying, could that be that he had some kind of just small involvement that way, just inadvertently?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he took the plea?
Yeah,
it got me thinking, because I looked it up in Idaho, and it is a thing. So if anything at all,
Sure.
Like, even if he lent anything, like even if that sheath or like knife was his in that sheath and they used his knife in the crime, like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So I'll answer it a couple different ways. One,
There's a lot of stuff.
the very first video I ever did on TikTok before I got over to YouTube was what if Brian Koberger was the getaway driver? What if he never went into the house? He just literally took somebody to the house, and maybe he didn't even know what was happening. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, can you wait out here? I got to go in and get something for my friend." Murder happened, and then he took off. Maybe he even took off and left the killer at the house, and maybe he was just the driver or whatever. And it said, if he did that, how do people feel about it? If he didn't actually commit the murders, but he was there. Now, a lot of states have accessory to murder, which basically says if you are involved in the murder in any way, shape, or form, it's the same as if you did the murders yourself.
And so it's like that in Idaho. Yeah.
Right. So there's a scenario, and I've always maintained the possibility that Brian Koberger was involved. And here's the thing. I took a lot of cue from something that was said by Bill Thompson towards the very, very end of the plea deal. Since the very beginning of this trial, Brian Koberger has always maintained his factual innocence. And I made a big deal out of factual innocence because what I think it means is the facts are incorrect. You're saying I went into the house and I did all these things. I didn't do that. That doesn't mean that he's necessarily innocent. It doesn't mean that he didn't have any involvement, but they're factually incorrect. He didn't go in there by himself and kill 4 people in 8 minutes and leave the house with no blood on him. So so it leaves you with that gray area, right? Is if he was involved in any way, shape, or form, he would be facing potentially life in prison without the possibility of parole as an accomplice to murder, regardless of whether factually he did it or he just drove somebody there, or if he was just part of the cleanup crew and he knew about it and didn't tell people about it. There's a million scenarios in which Brian Koberger could be involved with the crime and still be technically guilty of murder because of basically the same sentence, if you will. So,
yes, and we're the only country that hasn't like done any revisions to that like thing. Like it's crazy. And most states like really enforce that. So I was wondering if that is why he just like finally just like gave in and just was like, well, I'm gonna serve life anyway because of
I'll give you
thing.
It's a great question. I want my panelists to be able to have a chance to answer that part, and I'll give you a couple of other reasons why people plead guilty to things they didn't do as parting thoughts. So, Joe, you want to go first? What do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Christina.
Hi.
I detect an East Coast accent.
Yep. I was born in New York, in Queens. I was born in Jamaica Hospital, lived in Flushing, Queens, and now I live in Pennsylvania. So
right on.
County.
Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn and grew up most of my younger life in New Jersey.
Ah, there you go.
So anyway, regarding this idea, which is something we've all thrown around many times on this show, that Koberger could have been involved even peripherally, and by default, he's taking the fall. That's one of the things we've discussed a lot. And I just sent DA a text yesterday. I just bought the book by John Grisham,
right,
about false convictions and wrongful convictions, rather, and people being framed. And I just started reading it yesterday.
I've
been told that's an excellent book. By several people have said
I have personal experience with that. I took a plea deal when my PCA, they lied on my PCA. It was just totally it was basically just a whole setup, and it was.
Oh, wait a minute, Christina. Why would you plead to something you didn't do?
I know, right? Well, it was either that or like I hired a lawyer, and my lawyer wouldn't even listen to me. He was like, I thought you were going to just cooperate. And I was like, why? Because there's all these things, but I already paid for this lawyer and he wouldn't do anything for me. So it was either I was going to prison for, so basically you have to say that you weren't coerced. But you're coerced. Right. They're threatening you're going to prison, or you get house arrest and probation for 10 years. So
I wish more people would listen to you and listen to this very, very carefully. There are just freaking too many people in this country who think no one pleads guilty to something they didn't do. That is not true. People get ramrodded through the system. They get overcharged. They get ineffective counsel, and then they're left with a poor choice. Face the possibility of losing this trial and spending ungodly amounts of time in jail, perhaps the rest of your life, or plea to something. And then, like you say, in order for the plea to work, you must state unequivocally, yes, I did this and nobody forced me to say it. It's part of the deal. And it's a joke because people will say they did things they didn't do because it's the only way to get the deal. And
I
people
felt
don't
I was perjuring myself. I felt like I was like, I'm committing perjury right now. Like,
well, you know, another thing too, related to this, I have a lot of friends and family members that are ex-law enforcement, and it's a system, right? People are generally good. You know, there's good people and bad people, but systems are not good. Bureaucracy is not good. And a lot of times, and I've seen it, the attorneys know the prosecutors. They all know each other. They work in the same areas.
Mine was a previous prosecutor. Yeah.
And a lot of times they all know each other, and they like DA has talked about this. They have drinks together. They may be friends in some capacity. And a lot of times it's a system. Once you're in a system, most people will bend to that system. And that goes from government, the highest levels, down to local levels. And people, oftentimes, this is why a lot of people don't understand the idea of somebody taking a plea deal if they're innocent. But a lot of times, there's a lot of powerful forces working against them, and they get coerced, or they feel hopeless because of they're told different things, and they're kind of steered in certain ways. And again, systems are oftentimes very flawed. And so a lot of the people that you find out, it's way more common that people take plea deals for crimes they didn't commit, or are framed, or are wrongfully convicted. And one of the things in the very beginning of the Grisham book is that if somebody that's investigating a case early on gets it in their head, this person is a suspect, and they get it in their head, it's human nature, and it's factually proven that this happens, for people to then start organizing information to support their belief.
Confirmation bias, right? You
Right.
think
And
it's this guy.
it
So you
happened. I
think that
studied
supports
forensic
it.
psychology. It's a very real thing. I've studied, false confessions, and it's a very real thing. So I do think it's a very significant thing. And if Koberger was peripherally involved, maybe for all we know, they were able to convince him, look, you're going to get convicted. We've got so much information. You're done for, man. You're going to get the death penalty.
Yeah, even if it's all fake information, like it's fabricated. And it's just the way it is. And you're just like and your back's against the wall. You have no choice. And I felt like I had no choice. I'm on disability. Like, I am like sick. Like, I couldn't imagine having to be in a person. Like, I can't do bright lights and loud noises. Like, I was already on house arrest anyway, because I never left my house. Like, it was impossible for me to have done what they, like, it's just crazy. But, and I still had a lot of respect for the officers the whole time. I still did, because I always had like a great respect for police officers, because they always protected me. Like, when I was little, like like I said, I was hiding from my father. He was a bad guy, and I needed protection, and as a kid, and they were always there for me. So I always had a great respect for them, and it really hurt me to be railroaded that way. But I still treated them like, I still couldn't, I wasn't angry at them. I just kept, I just went with it, because I was just
Well-
like, this is what's happening to me, and I don't know how to get out of it. My lawyer's not helping me, and this is what I got to do,
So speaking of police officers being good guys, one, did you want to comment as a NYPD officer? Do you want to comment on, her early question, about Kohberger being guilty by association, if he had any part to do with it and whatever? And you got any thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, not to repeat everything that you said. I mean, I from the beginning, from what I've seen in my and the experience that I have, I mean, right from the get-go. I mean, so what is the one piece of evidence that I mean, again, there's like a million different things in this case, but what the one piece of evidence that they have, right? The knife sheath that has his touch DNA. Just happens to be that there's no body camera footage of that knife sheath being found. I mean, it's a glaring red flag, and the officer who found it has a history of being disciplined with his body camera. So it right there alone, I mean, it's like, what is going on here? But what really, there's a lot of stuff with the case. We speculate and we have all these different theories, but I mean, really at the plea hearing there, I mean, what really did it for me, and again, then there's no trial because BK, he pleaded, he pled guilty, right? Yeah. So we have no trial. But when Bill Thompson stood up there and he said, I just want to be clear, we could not place we could not place him at the house. So I'm like, well, so what do you like? What is going on here? You can't place him in the house. You can't. It's like, what? Am I hearing this right? Like, it's like insane. It's like it's like an it's like an oxymoron. That term. It's like, what? He's pleading guilty, but I also have kind of the same feeling. What Lee was saying too. He through the whole time he kept affirming his factual innocence. Right. I think all the stuff about him, he went to, he got Kaylee and Maddie first, and then Xana, heard a noise and went upstairs and all this. I mean, it's all fabricated nonsense, and I don't think that none of that happened at all. I really don't think so. So with him specifically, I think it's really high chance. I do think that he has some kind of connection to this Kopaka individual, whether, he may not have even known what was going on. Maybe he just thought, he was tagging along for some kind of drug deal or something or whatnot. But there's too much stuff. You just have to think logically. Even if, I have I worked on a whole thing today, it's going to be one of the letters that Lee's going to put out about the car, about BK's car. But without going a whole big thing into it right now, just if you think logically, right? Okay, so if you say BK picked up Kohberger, right? Because they lived right near each other. He drives him over there. Okay, well, we have the info from the documents and all the reports. They did an extensive check on BK's car. So that narrative doesn't work. So if BK drove if he drove Kopaka there, well, you're gonna tell me then that Kopaka got back in his car, even if he changed his clothes and everything, you're gonna tell me they didn't find one hair follicle, one little piece of like little microscopic thing of blood, nothing, not one thing was found. So so that's the problem I have. I do think it's possible that BK somehow was involved with going over there, but something happened. But there's a whole big thing with his car too, because it doesn't make sense.
I want to give Robin a chance, but and I sort of don't know whether to wait for her to go and then me to say this, or yeah, let's do that. Hopefully I'll remember my point. Robin, do you have
Lee, that's fine.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that bothers me is just that, again, there are people who feel like if you got the right guy, it doesn't matter really how you got him. Like if he's guilty, make him go down, and I don't care what you have to do to get him. It's justice to get the bad guy off the street. There's people like me who feel like if we erode civil liberties because we break the law, we violate our Constitution, we do things illegally, then you're a hypocrite. You're trying to charge somebody with a crime by the law while violating the very laws that you believe you uphold. It's a hypocritical stance. And so for me, this case is all about two things. And this is the part that people fundamentally miss when they think that I'm suggesting Bryan Kohberger didn't do it. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. It's not super popular with everybody who watches this channel. I really don't give a shit whether Kohberger did it or not. That's not the point. What is the point is if he was involved and he's not the only one who did it, the real other killers are walking free. So it's not good enough to just railroad one guy and have him say he did it all. If there was multiple killers, I think it's fundamentally impossible for one person to do what they said that he did in the time that he did it. And therefore, I think that somebody else is walking on the street and they're just going to get away with it. And that's unacceptable for me. That makes it difficult for me. And I don't think it's respectful to the families at all to let the real killer or one of the real killers walk free. Because what if that killer who's walking free is the one that killed their kid? Are they okay with that? That person just gets to walk free with the rest of their life? So I think that's part of the problem. Also, I'm a big constitutionalist, civil liberty defender, and you got to make sure you do it right. So if he's the right guy, railroading somebody, because what we do in this system is we overcharge people, we threaten them, and then we tell them they have no chance of getting away with this, and you must plea. And then when they take a plea deal, again, uneducated Americans say, well, you don't plead to things you didn't do, so you must have been guilty all along. They're counting on you buckling. 90-something% of all trials or cases don't go to trial because people plea out. It's designed for you to plea. It's designed for you to buckle to the system and realize I'm never going to get away with anything. No matter what I do, I'm screwed. Even when I didn't do it, I have to say I did because it's the only way I'm going to save my ass that are stacked against me. And most people take that route. That's why 90-something% of all cases go plea out. Did you have something, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know how widespread it is now. One would probably know. I'm talking about the read technique of interrogation, which is one of the things that's associated with false confessions. It's a very controversial form of interrogation where the police or law enforcement can tell you, we've got your friend in the other room. Yeah, they already confessed. They gave you up. They're under that system. They're allowed to lie, and it's very controversial. And if you read any book about false confessions or watch any documentary about it, it's linked to the read technique. Now, Kohberger could have been peripherally involved somehow with that house, or other people that he didn't want to give up because he was afraid to give them up. And they told him, look, man, we got information. They gave you up. These other people, you're going down.
He's in prison with some of them, probably.
Right. Yeah. He might be killed if he talks. Right. Or his family might be killed.
They could have told him, look, man, they gave you up. We've got your information. We've got information on you that's ironclad. You're going to get the death penalty. And maybe he didn't give up the other people. And as things went along and they got closer to trial, the police knew they didn't have that information on him. So they worked with the defense attorney and came up with a plea deal. But there are many, I guess my point is to what Christina was speaking about earlier. There's many scenarios in which people falsely confess, or they get framed, or they're wrongfully convicted. Many scenarios.
Many scenarios. And here's another scenario that can answer the question. Maybe BK was there, maybe not. I mean, you know, one's drafted a great letter that suggests that maybe they were completely wrong about Koberger's car even being there at the time that they say he was there. But let's set aside for a moment that Brian Koberger's car was there. There's a scenario, again, with the newly released footage. If everybody's not familiar by now, everybody probably has heard about it. The newly released public disclosed stuff from MPD directly shows screaming, horrific screaming, happening for about 30-something minutes at 2:30 in the morning, well before the crime happens. And it's all done before Koberger arrives. There's a scenario in my mind that said somebody knew Koberger and they knew he was a forensic specialist, and they're like, hey, can you help us come clean up the scene? There was 8-hour delay between, it's 8 hours if you count that the murders happened at 4. If they really happened at 2, we're talking about a 10-hour delay. So did somebody call in somebody like a Brian Koberger to help with the cleanup? And then they're like, well, you're going down for this because we're not fucking going down for this. You better take the fall or we're going to kill you. Because there's like a whole, so there's a scenario in which he did come, and maybe he comes in at the end after it's all done, and they're like, hey, we got him arriving to the crime scene. We got a bunch of dead bodies. It's that guy. And it's like, it's not even close to what happened, but it's the guy that showed up and got caught on camera. You know, so it could be something like that. So there's a million scenarios.
He could have been called by somebody.
Yeah.
If you know, in other words, if he had some familiarity with that house, let's just hypothesize drugs, right? Because there's been a lot of speculation about it being a drug house, and he was familiar with that house. Somebody that he knew through that house could have been involved with the crimes and hit him up and is like, hey, can you meet me at this house at this time or whatever? There's many scenarios. I'm not saying that that's what I'm saying that what happened. The point is, if in fact the crimes happened earlier, Koberger could have been his white Elantra, but he wasn't going there to kill anybody. He could have been going there for a totally different reason, and somebody tried to set him up that already committed the crime. And you know, many scenarios could have been the case, and that is why we're all here, and that is why the Den is here, and that is why there's so many channels still talking about this case.
I keep pinning Rishi Jamez's comment, and I want to comment on it. So I don't want to lose it. But did you have any other questions about that, Christine, or are you?
Well, I also just wanted to mention to one like because of the whole thing, like he said about, like, you know, they didn't call 911 because the police were already there, and
right.
I think it was Gunderson that was there.
Yeah.
And I think when they brought in, Nunez had that real guttural reaction to it because he wasn't brought in until later about it. They did that because if the body cam got out, at least there's a real reaction.
A real reaction,
what
right.
he was saying.
Yeah.
I don't think Snyder was ever brought in on the memo, like, at all.
Yeah.
Because they were all like talking, and he's talking to them, and you know, they seem like they're looking at him like, dude, like they were kind of close-lipped with him.
Right. And along those lines, I don't know if you've listened to me for long, but along those lines, when we look at the questions that weren't asked, all the questions that weren't asked that seem investigative questions 101, like, why didn't you ask this? Why didn't you ask that? And I keep saying it, and I'm not joking. You don't have to ask questions you already know the answers to. So I think the officers knew a lot of the questions already. There was no need to ask those questions. They already knew, and there's a part of me that thinks they already knew what happened. They already knew what happened, so there wasn't any need to really go into a whole bunch of details about chasing down rabbit holes because you already know what happened. So you just don't have to ask those questions.
And guys, when you think about one of the most famous cases and probably the biggest true crime case in the history of true crime is the West Memphis 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those 3 kids were straight up railroaded because they were young, kind of weird kids. One of them was had a intellectual disability, and they railroaded them, and they used the Reed technique on them. And the head guy, the prosecutor, had political aspirations, and he knew that if he solved this case, then it would be good for his political career. So they effectively colluded with law enforcement. They completely overlooked the evidence and of the actual evidence of who it pointed to the crime. And they just and this was during that, obviously, that satanic panic period. And they label these kids as Satanists and all that. But I think that if you look at that case, and I would highly recommend people watch the documentaries. There's been numerous documentaries. It's fascinating and riveting. But there's an example of law enforcement in a small little town that was West Memphis, Arkansas. You got Moscow, Idaho. You got a college there. They want to wrap this thing up quick. And if they had any information about Koberger, or he could have been connected to that house, so they had seen him or had information about him being affiliated with that house. And it's very possible that he was railroaded.
So let me Christina, I appreciate your questions on that, and I'm going to go ahead and drop you out for now just to get back to the panel.
I just have one more thing I just wanted to ask.
Sure.
One thing about can Bodycam ever like have Zulu time implied? Because that one video that you showed it was in front of, I guess, Koberger's apartment or something. It was like 11:30 at night, but it was really 7:30 or something. That difference in time with Pacific time and Zulu time, it could have been. I
don't want to go off the rate, so I'm gonna let you step off thing, and I'll answer that question. But thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for coming up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So
I don't want to wax too long about the body cam thing, but we talked about this before. As an example, we know the date and time that a car accident happened the night before where 2 people were run over, somebody got their legs broken. We know it happened at 11:40 p.m. and all the body cameras or the officers say it was 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. And none of us can understand what the hell happened there either, because it's clearly nighttime. It's not 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. It should be bright out if it's 7 and we know that the actual crime happened at 11:40 or whatever. So why are all the body camera footages off so badly? So there's a lot of weird shit going on with body camera, the body worn cameras timestamps, and I don't have the answer to you other than I'm sure there's lots of different ways the camera footage gets their times and how it happened and whatever. We don't know. That's part of what the public records request hopefully will start to kind of explain what those happen. Robin, you had something?
Well, I do. I just want to remind everyone in chat, let's please be respectful. I feel like once or twice a show. So here I go. Do my thing. Here I go. Please be respectful. We want everyone to have a good time. If you're not happy being here, then there's tons of other creators. You can go elsewhere, but we want everyone to have a good time. We can talk about different angles, still being respectful.
Yeah.
So just wanted to put that out there. So, but
and if you are unable to question official narratives, you're on the wrong channel. All I do is play devil's advocates with the official narrative. So
we probably pissed a lot of people off, man, with some of the discussions we've had.
Oh yeah,
sure.
You guys could have a difference of opinion. That's fine. You don't have to go by exactly what we say or what JJ thinks or what Lee thinks. We try to give you our educated, we all have different experience and whatnot. We try to give you, what we feel and what we think. So I give you my law enforcement experience on things that I see. Does it mean that it's 100%, that's what happened? Absolutely not, but we're fine with having a dialogue, and we'll entertain anyone that has a difference of opinion, but you got to be respectful.
All right, so we're going a little long. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to answer in part a comment that I've been trying to pin for 30 minutes from Rishi, because we just talk so much and it's great, but then like I can't get to this user's question. So the user was asking basically about Outcast, who did some more manipulation of the sound to try to isolate things and whatever. And if you've watched my show at all, you'll know that I tend to shy away from isolated audios, enhanced audios, whatever. In fact, the reason why I jumped all over Jules' release from MPD is it's unaltered. Nobody stepped on it. Nobody did anything. Nobody had to run it through a filter. And if you do this, and if you do this, and if you run it backwards and you play it at 2 times speed, you might hear this. I do not like to go down that route because when you start manipulating with footage, whatever, this was raw footage from MPD, unmanipulated. Now, here's what I'll tell you about the whole question about the redacted stuff. There was a question about the redacted and the muddy sounding. There's a lot of muddy voices in that audio. And then a plain as day scream that's not muddied at all. So you begin to ask, what's that mean? Now, some people imply what that means is the person had to have been outside to be able to like the muddied voices might be behind a wall, for example, whereas the scream implies the person standing outside because it's so crystal clear. There are other possible answers, and I want to tell you that this is what the custody queens and their appellate attorney Ron and I are going to talk about when we get together, which is every single file in that 1 hour file from NPD's release recently had the word redacted in it. Redacted, redacted, redacted. And the first thing I thought was this: maybe they're redacted simply because the entire footage has cars right in the view of the camera with license plates. All of those license plates are blurred out. That's technically a redaction. So would it have to be listed as redacted the entire time because there's cars literally there that they've redacted their license plates? However, one has to ask, did they also use that as an excuse to redact or muffle voices so that you couldn't hear the conversation going on? Did they do that in the vein of, well, they're having a personal conversation about somebody's personally identified information, like maybe somebody was reading a social security number or something like that, and that's none of anybody's business, so we're protecting it, so we've redacted it so you can't hear somebody's personal information. So then the $1 million question becomes is, can you kind of get away with tomfoolery by like, hey, we're redacting it because of the license plate, but once we say redacted, we can redact whatever the fuck we want out of that thing, muddy sound, whatever. And then there was no reason under that. See, if you're muddy, if MPD muddied the sound of people talking so you couldn't hear the conversation clearly, there was no need to muddy the scream because the scream's not PII. You can't even argue that you're trying to protect somebody's privacy because you can't tell who's screaming. So maybe that's an answer to why the scream is so loud compared to the muddied voices, is maybe they did literally muddy the conversation so you couldn't hear the conversation and then didn't muddy the scream because there was no need to. Either way, I can't believe NPD released that file because it suggests that there was some kind of violence going on for 30 minutes at the time window that the murders are not supposed to have happened. Furthermore, you know what you don't hear at 4 to 4:20 in the morning when Brian Koberger's committing those murders and the people are all fighting back? Anything that sounds like that. There is nothing that sounds like what you hear between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning during the time that they say the murders happen. But yet, I'll tell you this, if I were to put those sounds at 4 o'clock, 4:05 to 4:20, you would all be convinced you just heard Brian Koberger murdering people. I guarantee you. Most people in America would say, oh yeah, that's the sound of Brian Koberger murdering people. But if you move that till 2:30 in the morning when it really happened, yeah, it's just kids partying. It's just kids partying. You're hearing shit. Nobody parties like that. I don't know what kind of parties you go to, but nobody parties like that.
Did you any of you guys see Birdie's video earlier? Where he isolated, he did a little filtering of the cell phone,
right? The body that's against the wall.
Yeah, and in one of the isolations of on the guy's phone, you could see the little square of the last picture that he took.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Birdie isolated it, and it looked to me like a man with his hands in front of him, tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like the outline of a body. Yes,
right, a bigger guy, which Ethan was.
Right,
and in that same video from Birdie, I caught up. I didn't watch the whole video, but that in the same video, Birdie also highlighted the recently released closed door meeting between Hitler and family members about basically when Hitler was jumping all over Steve Gonsalves's ass for not shutting up to the media, and said, if you don't shut up, Steve, we're not going to have a trial because we can't seat a jury if you keep leaking stuff out there. And Steve Gonsalves says the words, now maybe we're making too much of it. He says the words, I hate the word gag order, especially considering some of the kids were gagged. Not just Kaylee, some of the kids were gagged. That's what he said. Some of the kids were gagged. So did Steve Gonsalves know that more than one person was tied up? Was she tied up? And you know what it makes sense? It would make sense to the audio you hear, because it sounds like people are getting killed one after another over a period of time. Right. And that would indicate people were tied up, forced to watch somebody get killed first. I mean, there's all kinds of horrific things your mind can go other way. But if indeed people were tied up and he, Steve Gonsalves, he's famously said Kaylee had marks on her mouth as if somebody was gagging her or either had a gag on her or were holding her mouth. She had marks on her mouth. And I think the marks would indicate somebody tied something very tightly around her mouth and left marks on her mouth being gagged. So did that happen? And when he says multiple victims were gagged, that paints an entirely different narrative than they were all sleeping.
That would indicate much more realistically it was more than one person, because there's no way that Brian Koberger went in there in, what was it? What was the time they allotted? 13 minutes or something?
Yeah,
I think it's even less. I
405
think
to
it's even less
420
than
is
that.
the
Like,
coming
yeah,
and
like,
going, but you got to factor in time to get in the
9
house.
to 10, minutes was able to tie up people and murder, 4 different people. There's no way that
and have no marks on him at all.
right. And
Yeah.
that's why
Uh,
the official narrative, the more information that you get or potential scenarios that get presented, the more the official narrative falls apart. And I just think it's quite obvious at this point. They created that narrative early on because they wanted it to just go away. They wanted the public to just assume, all right, it's taken care of, it's isolated, it's a targeted attack. We got our guy. They don't want anything other bad information to come out of what other things were going on in that area. So they tied it up in a neat bow.
And we don't mention it real often. We should find the receipts again. If you remember, in the very, very early stages of the investigation, the police indicated that they thought the murders happened between 2 and 3 in the morning, which is the time you do hear those screams. Is that the reason why they thought the murders happened at that time? Is because they heard those screams and they determined, fuck, it sounds like the murders happened at 2 and 3 in the morning. And then they at some point shifted the narrative and said, no, it happened at 4:05. So one has to ask then, what changed the narrative?
Well, we know. Well, I mean, we know the answer to that. Well, I think we know the answer to that because
the popo is there.
No, well, the popo is there, but they had to shift the time because if they went down, if they were pushing that, investigating. Oh, we know that the murders happened at 2:30 or 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Well, there's a problem there because BK is not there. Whether we know where, okay, we know BK left in his car, right? That's, they're tracking his car and whatever. And there's a whole bunch of stuff with that. Where did he go? We don't have the info yet from the Cy-Ray thing. We don't have all that info yet. Hopefully one day soon we will. However, if you want to even say, like you said earlier, if we want to believe that BK, that he did go to the house, that whatever it was, a cleanup guy or whatever it is, that he was somehow involved and he went there. Well, we know he wasn't there from 2:30 to 3, and that is a problem because they know where BK was at and in your video you put it on the screen, you spelled out exactly where he was at certain times. So if he's driving on the highway, he can't be there where such and such person is screaming.
Oh, look, we got Dago in the house. We've had AR Hayes, and I didn't even say hi to AR Hayes earlier. And we got Dago in the house. Got a lot of YouTubers in the house. So thanks for jumping by and stopping in. I think I missed even saying hi to AR. He's probably gone by now, but sorry about that. Go ahead.
DA, imagine this scenario. Koberger is going to the house, right? For whatever the reason, we can all speculate different reasons why he was going to the house. He goes, he knocks on the door because he was supposed to meet somebody there. He goes inside and he sees what happened. Yeah. So that's why he peels out.
Right.
And bolts out of there because
very possible.
He's like, holy fuck, what happened? I don't want to be here. This is he could have been there for a nefarious, an illegal reason. He doesn't want to get pinned or connected to it. So he just bolts out of there. And if you all remember that video the next morning of that white car going up that road, was that Walenta? What's that road?
Yeah, I think it's Walenta behind
there is a white car that's you see driving up there. Look, he could have been like, I'm gonna go back and see what the hell's going on over there. There's lots of reasons, things that can happen.
Somebody asked a question here. Hold on, DA question. So who's the one who the waitress told you was seeing was her name? Who's the one who the waitress told you was seeing what's her name? Probably is what you're saying. If you're going back in time to the waitress at the Twin Peaks restaurant who told me that her sister dated the guy who was dating Kaylee at the time the murders happened. I didn't remember that gentleman's name. I tried to get with them to actually get more of the details, and then that didn't pan out. And I didn't want to keep bugging her because after I already did my embarrassing movement of saying, "Hey, never mind. I'm not gonna cover that story again. It's a funny story. What an ass! What an ass! Yeah. I can't believe I didn't tip you. What an ass!
Yeah, he doesn't tip her, and then he tells her she's got a great ass.
and then I'm out. I'm not texting that girl again.
That was like a Larry David moment.
All right, real quick, because we're running out of time. I did want to share with people the latest letter filing I did. It's not super lengthy, but it's a little lengthy. So do you guys mind hanging out for me to read this letter so that people can know what we filed today?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let me put on screen real quick. One of the things I've done on my website, devilsadvocates.info, is I'm letting you know where your money is going. There is a cost column here that I haven't started to fill out, but each one of these certified letters costs money. I'm going to fill out that table with the money amount that it cost me. I can, if anybody wants to doubt my integrity, I can even take screenshots of the receipt so you can see it. But I'll put the costs on this table, and then that table has all of these letters that I've been filing for days in this case and responses. And you will see, if you're paying attention, we are getting responses. One of the things that I was tracking down is I'm looking into investigative records of Brent Lee Kopacka, whether he was ever listed as a potential suspect, given a tip to Moscow Police Department about being a suspect, and how they ruled him out, what the investigation notes said, and how they ruled out Brent Lee Kopacka. I'm also asking for all footage, all records of the officer-involved shooting of Brent Lee Kopacka 1 month and a couple days after the murders, in which his own best friend, Brent Lee Kopacka's friend, said, I think they thought he was involved in the murders in Idaho 4 and that they were overzealous and killed my friend. I've requested that information, and I have gotten an answer. I've gotten an answer from the city of Pullman. Very, very kind, polite thing that said, absolutely, we will get you all the footage that you're asking for the shooting and all the information you're asking. However, it's going to take a little bit of time. Here's your case number. Here's a link to watch the files as they get done. We'll be in touch to give you the cost of what it would cost for us to do the work. Well, so they're identifying it right now. Same basic scenario, other than not getting the web portal. Whitman County Sheriff's Office, same thing. Politely said, hey, look, here's what Whitman County said. Thanks for your request. We are going to be gathering your materials. Here's the cost. It's typically 10 cents per page that we have to give you. 75 cents, I think, for every hour of footage that's analyzed before we send it to you. We'll give you they sent me a copy of their fee sheet and said, unfortunately, at this time, we're overwhelmed with requests. That should tell you something. We're overwhelmed with requests, so it's going to take a couple months, unfortunately, but we will give you a status update in 30 days. So the certified letters that we're sending out are already bearing fruit. Agencies are admitting they will be providing information. That information is going to cost money. They're going to come back and they're going to ask. In the case of the footage that shocked a whole ton of us and led to me filing a request for a criminal investigation in this case, is that cost Jules $900. And I think someone told me just recently, Jules got the $900 price only because it was cheaper, because somebody already paid for it once, and they gave her a cheaper rate because some of it had already been done. So $900 was after somebody had already paid for some of that. I guess she even got mad, like, who paid for this and didn't share it with everybody? Like, if you paid for it, why aren't you doing what I'm doing, which is sharing it with everybody? But anyways, I want to read to you the latest filing. So real quick, because I don't want to go over the whole thing. At issue in this letter that I filed today is the sounds that what appear to sound like screams of pain or shock or distress of both males and females that happen between 2:30 in the morning and 3 in the morning, which sound consistent with violence and consistent with what you would imagine the murders could have sounded like. And so the first request that we did is we asked the district attorney, the attorney general. We asked the attorney general of Idaho to consider a criminal investigation in Moscow, Idaho, on whether or not they withheld exculpatory information, because in my opinion, and I listed a whole bunch of reasons, any jury in their right mind, if they heard those things, would question the official timeline, especially since people don't believe the story of Dylan Mortensen, Bethany Funk, and their story, what they said, that changed several times. They don't understand why people don't call 911 for 8 hours. There's already massive suspicion on the girls. And so if you take that suspicion that everybody has about the girl's story in light of what you hear between 2:30 and 3, any reasonable jury would have a question about the official timeline. Maybe it didn't happen when they said it did. So I did a follow-up meeting, or a follow-up letter, which I'm going to read to you hopefully now. Let's see if I can pop this up on screen. Yeah, here we go. All right. What this is going to be about is it's going to be about the investigative files, the investigation into those sounds. You see what I'm saying? So the first thing was like, hey, these sounds exist. And did you hide that from the defense? And what is the explanation? And then, but this is going further. This is like, I want to see, we're requesting public records request. I want to see all the officer notes that showed that you followed up on those screams and those sounds, that you did canvassing and you talked to people and you've ruled out that it was not murder. That you, at what point did you decide that, one, it was investigated, and two, that it was not the murders, so that you started looking somewhere else? I'm going to read the letter to you because I think a lot of people are really, I know a lot of people are excited about this letter writing campaign and the things that we're doing. So I know that you're interested. So let's read it, and I'll try to do it fast. I talk fast. This is going to the public records, the records custodian at Moscow Police Department. To the records custodian, pursuant to the Idaho Public Records Act, Idaho sections 74-101 through 74-126, I hereby request all follow-up investigative records related to newly discovered audio-video evidence that it was captured by security camera at 1112 King Road, dated November 13, 2022, which was later obtained and published by a YouTuber creator known as Jules with True Crime Reactions. This request concerns information contained within 15 files that were previously produced by the Moscow Police Department, which I will list below. These files clearly contain sounds that appear to be human beings in extreme distress, and therefore may constitute exculpatory information, as they raise reasonable doubt regarding the timeline of events and the accuracy of witness testimony. Before continuing, here is a list of the files that I'm referencing. Now, I don't have to give them a copy of the files because this is their files, so they already have those files. A, I'm looking for the context for this request. So here is the context for this request. It is public knowledge. I got to read my own writing better. It is public knowledge that the credibility of the prosecution's two primary surviving witnesses, Dylan Mortensen, hereafter named DM, and Bethany Funk, hereafter BF, has long been questioned due to their approximate 8-hour delay in reporting the crime and inconsistencies in their accounts. Members of the grand jury reportedly expressed concern about the witnesses' credibility and whether additional investigation was warranted. The newly reviewed audio-video footage from 1112 King Road security camera appears to capture multiple sounds of terror, distress, struggle, thuds, and possible screams that do not align with the state's timeline nor with the sworn testimony of these witnesses. These sounds may be exculpatory as they raise concerns regarding the timing of the murders, what occurred between 2:26 a.m. and 2:50 a.m., whether additional individuals were present or harmed, whether DM and BF's testimony is accurate and truthful, whether the state's theory of the case is materially flawed. Thus, any investigative follow-up, lack thereof, is of significant public interest. So there I'm laying the groundwork. It is important for the public to understand you looked into those things because it would shed doubt into the prosecution's timeline and the credibility of those witnesses. So I asked specific audio event. I'm going to list specific audio events requiring follow-up records. Please provide all investigative records, reports, logs, supplements, notes, emails, or communications related to the follow-up analysis of the following documented timestamps from the 1112 King Road security camera. 1, from 2:27 a.m. and 14 seconds, clear and audible scream consistent with terror. A clearly audible noise that resembles an adult screaming in distress. 2, 2:38:10 to 2:38:19, possible screams indicative of terror and pain. Also the appearance of potentially 2 distinct female voices. 2:40 to 2:21 to 2:40:27, possible screams indicative of terror and pain. 2:41:14 to 2:42:59, possible sounds of a struggle. This includes loud thumps, what appears to be a man screaming or in distress, sounds consistent with physical confrontation. Approximately 2:43 a.m., possible screams and shouting and cheering. While several individuals can be heard shouting and celebrating, a distinct scream of terror or pain is detectable beneath the noise, consistent with someone experiencing severe distress. The shouting and celebration could be construed as perpetrators trying to mask the sound of screams of terror to make it appear that the screams are part of a party or celebration. Approximately 2:49 a.m., possible faint female scream, a distant but clearly audible scream of a female voice. At 2:52, possible faint sounds of a female shrieking in terror and pain. 2:57:28, possible faint sound of indicative of a male scream of terror, pain, distress, followed by a loud bang. And 3:07, possible faint sound indicative of terror and pain. I'm requesting these records. Please provide all records indicating whether Moscow Police Department 1 investigated any of those sounds, including interviews, analysis, reports, and findings. Identified that they identified the source or nature of those sounds and whether they were determined to be relevant or irrelevant, unrelated activity, a human voice, a sign of struggle, potential evidence, or possible attempt by individuals to mask or conceal screams or sounds of distress. 3, did they question any persons regarding these sounds, including residents, witnesses, Dylan Mortensen or Bethany Funk, nearby neighbors, or other involved parties? 4, and by the way, the answer to that is, have you seen any questions at all in all of the documents they've released of all the interviews of Dylan Mortensen, Bethany Funk? Have you guys seen a single one where they ask about the screams at 2:30 in the morning to see if they heard them? Nope. So we kind of know the answer unless they're hiding stuff still from the interviews that we haven't seen. 4, have you conducted any additional follow-up steps, such as canvassing, timeline reevaluation, or sound analysis? 5, have you ruled out these sounds in a formal report and the basis for that ruling? 6, have you created internal emails or communication discussing or dismissing these sounds? And then 7, confirmation that these results of any of the above investigation into these sounds were delivered to the defense team of Bryan Kohberger as part of the discovery process, and that the defense acknowledged having had time to review and question any of those findings. Note, if the defense acknowledged receiving this information outside of the blanket statement during the plea deal that they had had time to review all the discovery, please provide the reference to the defense's acknowledgement that they received and reviewed the investigative findings. Now that sounds convoluted. The reason being is, for the plea deal of Bryan Kohberger to stick, he had to say, I'm doing this under no duress. I'm making this. Nobody's asked me to do this. And his defense attorney had to say, I had plenty of time to review all the discovery. She said that, and I think that was under duress, but she can't say it because the plea deal will be off. She said, of course I didn't have time to review all the discovery. I just told you 2 days ago I haven't had time to review all the discovery. Ann Taylor basically had to, for the sake of her client's plea deal, say, yeah, I've had time to review the discovery. What I'm asking them is, outside of you telling me, well, yes, Ann Taylor admitted she had plenty of time to review the discovery. Other than the asshole statement at the plea deal, where of course she has to say she had time, did she ever acknowledge that she had receipt, that she had been given receipt of those screams and saw the investigation? That's what we're asking for. And then lastly, if no follow-up investigation was conducted, please provide a written statement confirming that no investigative steps were taken, and an explanation for why these sounds, which appear consistent with human beings in extreme distress, were not considered relevant to the investigation. If any portion of this request is denied, please cite the specific statutory exemption relied upon as required by Idaho Code, blah, 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 and release all segregable portions. Electronic copies preferred. Thank you for your assistance. And that's the Devil's Advocates Group. So that's the letter we filed today. That went to both Moscow Police Department and Idaho State Police. What do you guys think about that?
Well done.
Well done.
Well done. Well
Are you going to
done.
send that to the feds too?
Not yet. Not yet.
I'm sure Cash Patel will be happy to show up and help you out.
So for those who for those who want to know my strategy going ahead, the first step is to ask the Attorney General of Idaho to open a criminal investigation, and I tried to give them enough evidence to do so. That's the first step. I feel like it's the right thing to give them the opportunity to do the right thing, right? So we have to give them the opportunity to do the right thing. Now, if they deny and say there's no reason to do an investigation and you don't need to know the answers, so piss off, that's not probably going to be acceptable. Well, it's not going to be acceptable. It's not going to it's going to not be acceptable. Then you're looking at a Department of Justice filing or a federal complaint. The federal complaint being a constitutional violation, that Bryan Kohberger's constitutional rights of a fair trial, of full rules of discovery may have been violated, and his constitutional rights may be violated, and it may be being covered up all the way up to the top of the state. So that will be the next step if the state denies it. Now, if they give a reasonable reason to deny, then maybe we'll give them more evidence. That's why we're going to continue to do the hunting. We're going to continue to look for more and more documents to prove that there was underhanded, not prove. We don't know. To be fair, we don't know that there's been a cover up or manipulation, but we have a pretty good suspicion that they took steps to make the evidence fit the guy that they believed did it. right? And so if they took steps to do it that were illegal, then that should be exposed. It should all be documented. And if they were asked by the public to show their work, hey, look, when you're in high school and you do a math problem, the teacher's going to make you show your work. At least he used to be able to make you show your work. So how about you show your work? If you're going to say that those screams at 2:00 in the morning aren't part of the crime, show your work. Show us how you concluded they were not part of the crime. So that's where we're going with that. I hope that you guys appreciate the letter writing campaign. And again, in the interest of trying to get support for this, if you're interested in donating to the campaign, Robin, can you put the link to the GoFundMe in
Absolutely.
the notes?
Will do.
So if you would like to help out with that, I did set, first of all, let me explain. If we have to lawyer up at some point, if we have to get an Idaho attorney to represent this case or something to that effect, which right now these are requests. It's basically public. I am representing myself as the media, and the media has the right in the interest of the public to get answers for the public. That's something the media is supposed to do. It's one of their functions in this country, is the media is supposed to actually do that. We've stopped doing investigative journalism in this country a long time ago. So I'm trying to step up into the role of some investigative journalists and ask for transparency. They're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're asking first, right? But if it gets to the point where you can't politely ask, we may have to go to litigation. If we go to litigation, this is going to get extremely fast or expensive really fast. Right now, every letter I send is about $10, $10, $10.40, $10.50, somewhere around there, but it's about $10. So I started to ask for money. I set an initial price of $4,000 just to get the letter writing campaign going. Obviously, if it went to litigation, that number is going to have to be. So don't be surprised if the number has to jump at some point if it ever gets to a litigation stage. But if you want to help out with the letter writing campaign, I assure you, I'm tracking all of the letters. I'm keeping all the receipts. I will prove to you that my wife and I are not going to dinner on your money, that this is all just to pay for certified letters to be filed. And I should clarify this. If they come back and say, like they did to Jules, hey, we've got all this information that's really juicy and nice that you might want, but it's going to cost you $900, that might come out of this money as well. And I'll let you know, like, look, I mean, and maybe I'll ask you guys, do you think it's a good use of your money to spend the $900 they're asking, or do we fight it more? Now, I should say this: I will automatically fight it. If they ask for something that I think is unreasonable, I will fight it first. I'm not just going to pay what they ask. I'm gonna fight. Do you have the right to ask for that kind of money? So I will fight it first. But at the point that they gave us a definitive, you pay up or you lose the data, then we'll either do so or we'll ask your opinion whether you guys think it's worth the money to go after that and pay that money. So hope that you guys believe in that process. And let's go forth and conquer.
You got a question here from Marina Marcus 3866. So why didn't Steve Goncalves PI not look into this? Maybe he has more information than being shared. The answer to that is, why do you assume that he was able to get all the info?
Yeah,
I mean,
the police. You're right. The Moscow Police Department had control of these audios. His PI doesn't necessarily have the ability. Once they've been confiscated and it's part of Moscow Police Department's records, I don't think that his PI could get that information. He would have to file a public records request like anybody else. And they would tell him it's an ongoing investigation and piss off. Yeah,
you should just for shits and giggles, you should send some package to Candace Owens to her tip line, because she had at one time, I heard her mention the Idaho 4 case. And she said, she was very brief about it, but you probably heard it one. She said it looked like a military operation to me, but I'll discuss that at a later time. Now, I know she's got her hands full right now.
You're right. This is the kind of thing that's right up her alley.
You're right, and she does have her hands full right now. However, if it gets to her and she knows it's from somebody that's done their due diligence and has actually put some legwork into it, she could have that sitting on the back burner, and it might at some point, if she gets a breather, she might, or her team might acknowledge it. And if you get her assistance with you, she'll credit you and she'll bring a lot more eyes to it.
Yeah. I might just do that. But you're right. She's got her hands full at the moment. But yeah, I might just do that. I did send, by the way, a copy of the request for criminal investigation to Ann Taylor. So I didn't tell people that, but I did send a copy to Ann Taylor as well. Several people had suggested I send a package to Brian Koberger himself in jail so he can know what's being requested on the outside. Might do that as well. We'll see. So. All right, let's spend a few minutes. Unfortunately, I know most people right now are probably only interested in the Idaho 4 case. However, Devil's Advocates covers 5 cases. I cover Luigi Manjone in the shooting of Brian Thompson, the alleged shooter of Brian Thompson in New York back in December 4th, 2024, last year. I also cover Lisk, the Long Island serial killer, Rex Heuermann's case in extentia. I also cover basically Shannon Gilbert and the pursuit of justice of who killed Shannon Gilbert from 2010, because it may be related to the Rex Heuermann case. Not officially, it's not officially related to the Rex Heuermann case, but it may be related to the Rex Heuermann case. And if you've watched my show long enough, you know I've had attorney John Ray, who represents the families of Shannon Gilbert, is now going forward at the lawsuit against Peter Hackett for hampering the investigation into the death of Shannon Gilbert. A long time ago, but he's been green lighted to go forward to question Charles Peter Hackett, the person who gave conflicting testimony. Told the mother that I saw your daughter that night before she disappeared, and I treated her and I sent her on her way, and then followed up and asked her, have you seen your daughter yet? And then when the media came and said, hey, did you see Shannon Gilbert? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I never saw her that night. John Ray knows that's a lie. Mary Gilbert, his mother, was called multiple times, and they had to call records. And when they called him on it, he started backpedaling. And now John Ray wants to know, what else does Peter Hackett know that he's not talking about? So that's one of the cases. I also cover Charlie Kirk's assassination and the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson. I also cover, or I plan to cover, Mickey Stein's, the alleged former sheriff who shot the judge in his chambers. However, we have a hard time every night even getting past Idaho 4 lately because of what's happening with the latest documents. It's dominating our entire life, right? Idaho 4 again. And you think, I thought keep saying it all the time, I thought this case was over, man. I thought this case was over, but it's not going away. So anyways, I do want to talk about Luigi Manjone because it's an important case to me. I will tell you this. Those who are diehard Luigi Manjone fans are not going to be happy with some of the things that I say, because I tell you how I feel. I tell you what I feel about it. One of the things that I've told you before was there's a real possibility. Yes, there's a possibility Luigi Manjone didn't do it. Also, I believe that a person has a presumption of innocence until proven guilty. So even if it looks like he did it, we have to give him the presumption of innocence. That's how our court systems work. However, I've also told you I think that there's a possibility he did do it, and that it could still be a monumental case in America. Comes now day 4 and 5 of suppression hearings in the Luigi Manjone case, and they're having officers on the stand about that arrest and the alleged potentially illegal arrest of Luigi Manjone, the illegal search and seizure and detention without reading his Miranda rights. And there were some things that the officers said. So here comes if Luigi really said this, if the officer's telling the truth and Luigi really said it, it makes it look really bad. It makes it look really bad for Luigi if the officer is telling the truth. And I have to say, I have to be fair. There's not a reason for me to believe the officer is lying about Luigi, what he said. But there are many people who believe that Luigi couldn't hurt a fly, that the whole thing must be a misunderstanding. Luigi didn't do anything. They're setting him up. They framed him. And in fact, his attorney, Karen Agnifilo, who's seen in this little picture that you can see on screen, I'll blow it up a little bit more. Karen Agnifilo flat out said, I think the officers planted information on him. One of the big shockers that came out in discovery, I just found out, was that Karen Agnifilo says that the 2 officers who were driving with the backpack in their car pulled over on the side of the road and didn't have their body cameras on and searched the bag in the car before taking it back to the precinct. That's a major, major problem. So if that did happen, that's a problem.
Are Luigi and Karen related?
No,
they look like they could be siblings.
Right. No, they are not related. Although I can't remember if Karen's Italian descent or not. Luigi is. But anyways, so no, they're not related. But here's what I wanted to highlight for you. Some things. Per police body camera footage played in court, the officers found a magazine fully loaded with bullets wrapped in a pair of wet underwear, at which point Fox can be heard saying, it's fucking him 100%. Yeah, I say the F word on this show. I didn't put a disclaimer on it, but I drop that from time to time. And besides, it's a direct quote, and they bleeped it out, but I didn't. Both Fox and Wasser worried that the backpack could contain an explosive. The officers testified, and thus they wanted to search the bag at McDonald's instead of transporting it. By the way, Karen calls them on the carpet and says, "Do you see in this video all these patrons of McDonald's walking around and the 11 cops standing around the backpack? If you really thought there was a bomb in it, did you clear the place?" No, we didn't clear the place. Okay, well, it doesn't sound like you're too terribly worried about a bomb when you're not even clearing the place and putting everybody in danger, as you could have set off an explosive in the backpack. So I'm not buying your story. The question is, will the judge buy the story? I don't know. The defense has also latched on to a handoff of evidence between McDonald's and the police precinct, which wasn't captured by body cam footage. Fox said the exchange between him and Wasser when he was called back to the restaurant took about 10 to 12 seconds. But defense attorney Karen Agnifilo suggests on Monday that the pair may have surreptitiously searched the backpack at that time and found the gun or potentially planted it. So yeah, she's saying you potentially could have planted this gun. Fox also testified that he helped transport Manjone to the Blair County Courthouse for arraignment after they were met by a huge scrum of media. Now, this is where it looks bad. After they were met by a huge scrum of media amid intense interest in the case, he said that Manjone turned to him as they were leaving and said, "All these people are here for a mass murderer? Why?" Now, what does that mean? Luigi Manjone, if he said it, what does that mean? Luigi Manjone is not a mass murderer. He shot one guy. It means Luigi Manjone is referring to Brian Thompson as a mass murderer. And it implies he doesn't know why everybody gives a shit that he just killed a mass murderer. He's like, look, that guy's a mass murderer. Well, everybody gives a shit about this guy. Why do they give a shit about this guy? That's the kind of attitude the officers suggesting Luigi Manjone had. Everybody's showing up because they killed a mass murderer. What's the big deal? Like, he's a piece of shit. He's a mass murderer. That's the implication. I'm reading between what they're trying to say. That's what they're implying Luigi's comment is. And then in cross-examination, Agnifilo portrayed Fox as improperly giving Manjone his Miranda rights. There's a big, huge Miranda discussion. So that was part of it. I also wanted to play a little bit of this footage, new footage that I've never seen before of the officers arriving. This is where one's got to give us some viewpoint. There's at the start of what I'm going to play, the body camera is turned off as well. The camera's running, so the officer's camera's running, but there's no audio. That's part of what I wanted to ask you about. One is there's no audio on this portion until they get into the place.
Should be a 60-second buffer.
Okay, so maybe that's it. So let's take a look.
Because our body cameras are always they're always on.
Well, I will say this entire drive, which goes on for a while, that's before they get there, is all silent as well. So it looks like it's a body-worn camera already on the officer, and it's silent until they get there. And it's silent as they walk across the parking lot. It's silent until they go into the park and into that building. And then shortly as they start to approach Manjone, the sound comes on. So it's almost like they've turned off just the audio portion, which it sounds like you're saying that's not usually the case, right? You can't isolate the audio from the camera.
The audio should turn on. It should come on after a minute.
Oh, I just figured it out. They're redacting it. They're probably redacting the conversation between the officers, so they probably just muted that part. That would explain something. Okay. Let me put it back on stage so that it's with sound, because I want you to hear the sound. That just made sense. I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, so they probably just redacted the officers talking is probably what they did. Let's put screen share, window, and that with sound. All right. Add to stage. All right, ready? Let's see. And I can't ask you if you can hear the sound because, hey, why does it say the sound's muted in the corner still? What the hell? All right, hold on. I can't seem to look at that. The mute is still on that thing. It's not even playing. Let me refresh this. Maybe because I didn't watch their commercial. Okay. Yeah, I can't unmute this. I can't unmute the file. The thing's got a oh, there's sound. Did you hear the sound?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it says it's muted, but it's not. All right, let's blow this up. So let's just get back up just a hair, because this is a lot of people have never seen this before. This is the officer approaching. We'll just back up to about here. So for some reason, there's no audio on this portion. I don't know if it's redacted or what, or I put it full screen.
Yes, sir. There you go. sound up there for me?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. What's your name?
Mark.
What is it?
Mark.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Mark what?
Rosario.
Rosario? Someone called. They thought you were suspicious.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have your ID on you?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Probably should look like someone guilty to. Player 6, 2729 out of New Jersey. Romeo 6807 521 07982. Should come back to a Mark Rosiano.
I don't know. He says Rosiano. It was Rosario. I don't know what happened with that one, but and did we just lose 1-1? Like I was just going to ask 1-1 a question, and he just dumped out of the. He's like, I'm out. I'm not talking about it.
Oh, I think his phone died.
Okay. Well,
that guy didn't look like Luigi to me.
I know. I thought that too. Like, but the thing is,
was...
like, it doesn't look like Luigi at all. But the problem with that though is Karen Agnifilo is not arguing it's Luigi, and Thomas Dickey is not arguing it's not Luigi. But you're right. It doesn't look like him. His nose looks kind of fat in that picture.
Yeah.
He looks very different to me. So that throws me off. And in fact,
come on, man. This is a Fed op. It's all a show. They're all actors.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what to think about that. I thought it was interesting because it was brand new footage that a lot of people haven't seen. I've never seen that before. The other thing that I want to talk about as I bring up on stage just briefly, and again, is this kind of shit this is going to be it's an operation. Why is it in high profile crimes, every criminal seems to have to write themselves notes on how to commit the crime or what to do after the crime? Make sure to go get some food, make sure to get a shower, go check in on this. Like, why does it just reek of stupidity? Like, I think Luigi Manjone is a smart guy. I don't know that he needs to take notes on reminding him to like do some of the shit that they're saying that he's reminding himself to do. I always get freaked out when they show these personal notes, like a checklist of just, pluck your eyebrows, reminder to pluck your eyebrows, and whatever. It's hard to read. I don't want to go into the details of what they said right now, but why is it that seems,
because is that supposed to be the gun?
Yeah.
Can you show me that?
Yeah. Let me put it back up on the screen.
That was not the pistol that was used in that video.
And here's another thing.
Doesn't look it.
Yeah, they have
definitely not.
I think there's a much better pictures of what they're claiming is the gun and suppressor. Let me put this on backstage for a second, and I'll pull that up real quick. All right, I should be able to find this pretty quickly here. Yeah, here it is. Oh, here we go. This is a video of it. Let's see if I can pull this up and just skip to it.
The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act strikes again.
All right, let me put this on. Yeah. Let me put this out. It looks like I'm already sharing audio. So let me play this for a second. Tell me if you guys hear audio.
Carries a potential death sentence.
Yeah.
Yesterday was the first day.
So there's some more
pre-trial hearing with the defense arguing that this.
So I don't know if you need to see that in a pause for. They'll show it again, I think.
He's an actor.
So, there's the pistol that's supposed to be a 3D printed gun. The silencer that was used. They had a crystal clear. They had an image once again, like the Koberger case. They had a crystal clear image I've never seen. Way better image of the shooting than I've ever seen. That all of a sudden has surfaced as well. That's par for the course. The blurry people see the semi-blurry version in the public, and then when it goes to trial, they got crystal clear, razor sharp images of it. But that's a whole other thing. Let me see if I can find some more real quick to show you some footage.
Remember, kids, DARPA has technology that's at least 20 years ahead of what the public
Not in that
has.
video. Not in that video. All right. But anyways, yeah, I don't try to make everything, a grand conspiracy. Because it seems like everything we talk about, it's like, well, it didn't really happen. It's all a grand conspiracy. And I think there's that element that we must entertain. If you're being intellectually honest, you have to accept the possibility that is possible, because otherwise you're blocking your mind to the possibility, right? So, but of course it's not what we focus on as much. But in Luigi Manjone's case, just to let you know, the highlights of discovery so far is just that they're going to be arguing over whether or not the arrest was legal or not. And again, for a lot of people, it leaves you with this difficult feeling, which is that it seems like Luigi Manjone had the gun on him and he had the confession letter, and they still continue to call the notebook that he had, which was a diary, according to his attorney, they keep calling it a manifesto. And as his attorney has made a great argument, it only became a manifesto when you kept telling the public it was a manifesto and made it public. A manifesto has to be intentionally made public by the person. That's what they intended it to be made public. Luigi Manjone never intended that notebook, if it's his, to be made public. Therefore, it's not a manifesto. But because they made it public, they keep saying it's his manifesto, and it's prejudicial. Jury hears manifesto, and of course, who writes a manifesto? People who are going to do a crime. So they're trying to prejudice people into thinking he's guilty already because he wrote a manifesto and therefore must have done it. I guess we lost 1-1 for the rest of the show. I don't really know that I have a lot to say about that. There has not been any bombshells. There's no bombshells in the Luigi Manjone case so far. It looks like we're still heading for another couple of days, maybe at least, of suppression hearings, because again, it took like two days, I think, for Wasser and Fox, two officers, to kind of basically be on the stand and under cross and under re-exam, and no real bombshells in it other than the possible bombshell where Karen Ignifilo suggests that the officers pulled over on the side of the road and continued to search the backpack before going back to the police station. And if that's the case, I don't know how she proves that, because if there's no body camera, how does she prove that happened? But if that's the case, then it begs, like, what the hell's going on here? Are they planting evidence? Because it looks sketchy as hell. So, but again, what they've done to counter it, what the prosecution's done to counter it, here's what I told you before, but I'll tell you again if you haven't been following the case. What the prosecution's, I think, setting up is the prosecution knows there's a real possibility the judge is going to say it was an illegal arrest because they didn't read him his Miranda rights, and they continued to interrogate him without letting him know he has the right to remain silent. Therefore, he could have incriminated himself before he was told he had the right to shut his mouth. He felt that he was compelled to talk to them, so he continued to talk, even after telling him, I don't want to talk to you. He literally said, I don't want to talk to you, but they kept asking questions, and then he kept answering. And then at some point, 17 or 19 minutes later, they ask, hey, by the way, you're formally under investigation, and then read him his rights, and then he stopped talking. So they're going to try to get it tossed. And the prosecution's trying to set up the defense, which is, okay, fine. If we lose on the arrest, we've got people who are in the correctional facility holding Luigi Manjone, who Luigi said, yeah, I had a 3D printed gun on me. I had a passport on me. People think I was going to flee the country because I had a passport. And yeah, I've got a problem with the healthcare system and whatever. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to do the next best thing. If the evidence gets tossed, they'll try to use hearsay of the officers who said, hey, Luigi told me himself that he had those things on him and that he has a problem with the healthcare system. I saw you almost lean forward, Joe. You got a comment?
No, I mean, okay. DA, have you ever taken an acting class?
No, I have never taken acting classes. Okay. I can remember.
I have. Mm-hmm. When I was a young lad, I took a couple acting classes. And Luigi, that scene where he's yelling and they're pulling him away and he's in the orange, that's a bad actor.
Yeah.
Okay. The CIA hires crisis actors, right?
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Right.
In clandestine services and operations, they have actors, right? That to facilitate on operations things that they need. This, to me, I've said this before, is the most obvious operation I have ever seen of anyone I've ever studied or read about or anything.
Wow.
It is the most obvious, poorly executed operation for so many reasons that none of the pictures look like him.
Right.
The guy in that with the
big
hat on doesn't look like him.
I agree.
The gun in the video doesn't look like that pistol to
Yeah.
me,
No.
because
Yeah.
firearms experts, when it first happened, were showing these potential weird kind of pistols that it could have been, that have a weird, the way you clear a jam is different on those type of guns than a striker fired gun like the one that he had, like a Glock style pistol. And so as far as I'm concerned, what we are witnessing is theater. And because this will most likely not go to trial,
Yeah.
this is just eating up a lot of media attention, and it's accomplished certain things, and it's going to accomplish things socially, I believe, because they'll be able to construct narratives from this. They'll be able to ramp up domestic surveillance through this. They'll be able to ramp up predictive policing, much like with the Charlie Kirk case. Palantir and their affiliates are poised right now to scale up domestic surveillance and predictive policing.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times normies might say, well, what? I don't understand. What do you mean? Why would this be an operation?
Right.
I always say, don't look at what happens right after a crime or right when it happens. Look at what happens
The
as
aftermath
a result of it.
Right.
What type of legislation gets passed? What type of agendas get pushed on the back of these high profile cases? So, it's like the old, like, follow the money. It's also who benefits, cui bono, who benefits. If this case is used, oh man, we can't have these, Tyler Robinson, Luigi Manjone, vigilantes out there. We got to ramp up. And this is how they manufacture consent.
Yeah.
People giving up their civil liberties and for pushing agendas. Now, I have to say it because it's so obvious to me in this case that it's very hard for me to look at any of this stuff and not scream operation.
Right. Yeah.
I know
and
you're sick of hearing it, DA. I know you're sick of hearing it.
Hey, I think it's good. I think it's good to entertain it. And in the very, very beginning, I said a lot of the things that you said, which is that one, Jake Gyllenhaal is the one that checked into the hostel, not Luigi Manjone. It doesn't look like Luigi Manjone at all to me. It looks like a completely different person. I say the same thing Robin said just a minute ago. That sure doesn't look like Luigi Manjone and McDonald's. Like, they're telling us it is, but like, fuck, that doesn't look like Luigi Manjone. It doesn't look like him at all. Like, maybe he was cold and his nose is freaking fat because he's cold. I don't even know how to explain it, but he doesn't even look like Luigi Manjone. I don't even think he sounds like Luigi Manjone. The whole thing is just weird to me. So, and one of the first things I said was that convoluted, what if Luigi Manjone is simply player 2 and somebody else was the shooter, and maybe a group of people all dressed similarly. The shooter went remember the shooter after the shooting, which was a very calm looking calculated shoot that looked like an assassination to a lot of people. The shooter calmly walks across the street after clearing jams like they were expecting the jams, and just no problem cleared them and no panic. Again, I would argue, just intellectually, I'd argue if a person's killing a human being for the first time, there's going to be like some like freak out moment. Like, holy shit, did I just do that? You're going to panic, maybe whatever. There's no panic in that person. It's calm as a cucumber. So was that a professional hit? Or as maybe somebody like Joe might say, maybe it was a staged hit and never really happened. But the point being is, one of the first things I said was, per the first documentary that came out, the shooter went into Central Park to an area where there's no cameras, and law enforcement lost the shooter for, quote, quite some time, and then saw somebody that has a similar description leaving the park at a different exit and picked him up again. That was, they say, Luigi Manjone. My question is, what if the guy who went into Central Park isn't the same person who rode out of Central Park? What if Luigi Manjone was part of a group and he wasn't the actual shooter, and he was just running a diversion to get people to go chase after him, kind of thing, while the real shooter got on a bus and got out of town? So that was a possibility from the beginning, that this was a group of individuals. It was coordinated. They changed that the shooter goes into Central Park, and in fact, they found a bag of clothes. They found a bag of clothes near where the backpack was. So did the shooter go in, change out of his clothes, and get into civilian clothes or some kind of thing, completely different outfit, and walked out the park while everybody else is looking for that shooter on an e-bike, who Luigi Manjone picks up and leaves on an e-bike wearing the same clothes, and the chase is on, and he gets away. And the whole thing was he wasn't even the shooter. The real shooter's in the wind still. I've entertained that possibility. That sounds real crazy, but it's still like, what if Luigi Manjone wasn't the shooter? What if he was involved in somehow, but not the shooter? So, right. I mean, I do.
Just real quick, when another thing that says to me that whoever did the shooting is either a professional or someone, I don't know if they're in the military or whatever, but not only was he focused on Brian Thompson and the gun jams, you've got this poor lady over here, okay, right up against the building. She's scared.
Drinking the coffee? Yeah.
Shitless.
Yeah.
And I mean, just her movement alone, the way that she's moving, that will be startling to someone who's never shot another human being before. The gun is jamming. You've got this lady over here who's, trying to get the hell out of the way. So to me, whoever did it is someone, and to our knowledge, I know that Luigi was missing for a while or whatever, but to our knowledge, he's never been placed in that situation before. So, I don't think whether he is involved at all, but I don't believe one way or another that he's the shooter at all.
By the way, a shout out to Twizzlestick aside here. By the way, I met Twiz at one of the Koberger change of plea deal kind of thing. So good to see you. I think Twiz and I bumped into each other twice down at the Koberger trial. So good to see you, Twiz. Thanks for coming in tonight. So yeah, I mean, the Luigi Manjone case is interesting because, like Joe said, in his mind, this will never go to trial in the first place. And there's that part of me that's like, you're probably right. Like that's how 99 or not 99, but 93 or something % of cases never go to trial. So will this just go to a plea at some point anyways? And will we never find out what happened because it'll never be under the scrutiny, under the light of day in a trial? Like we tend to always get robbed of the details. It's the way we do courts in America. It seems like now is everything's hidden off the public record. And then you get a plea deal that happens behind closed doors and the public never knows what happened. So maybe that'll happen again to us in this case, but
all the world's a stage.
Yeah. And there's still a part of me though. So this is like you and I, if we're still doing this a year from now, when the state trial is going on of Luigi Manjone, if you and I are still doing this, there's still that part of me that thinks this is going to go to trial in the state case. And it is going to be, I'm making a prediction. The defense is going to go for one of those mental, not insanity, but it's like a temporary insanity law in New York where it says, yeah, our guy did it, but you have to understand why he did it. And therefore, in order for a jury to understand why he did it, you have to expose how horrendous the healthcare system was that it drove a man to do something like that. And this is why I say this case could literally put the healthcare system on trial. And I know for all the reasons I say, you're like, DA, that's never going to happen. Like they don't want that kind of healthcare system on trial. So there's that.
Well, they might want it to appear like the healthcare system is on trial, and you might be let me alter what I said. It might go to trial, but I don't believe it will be a trial that comes to any resolution.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. So I guess I misspoke.
Okay, fair.
And again, I've been delaying officially launching my State of the Deep YouTube channel because I've been doing prep work. Because the first episode, I want to make sure I pare it down to cover all the things. I will get much more into why I think the way that I do and provide actual background information as to why I think the way that I do and why I look at things the way that I do, and why there is a link between these high profile true crime cases and the types of things that DA and I have spoken about on Deep Devils and what I'll speak about more.
Yeah. And I do want to say, I don't want to beat it to death, but I've had attorney Ali Benevento on the show. In fact, Ali and I had talked about doing to get together. We may still when the suppression hearings are done. So I think I'm going to get Ali Benevento on here to talk about her and I's views on the suppression hearings. Of course, she's an attorney, and a criminal defense attorney, and at that, so her views will be way more important than my views. But I'll talk to her about it and get her thoughts and my questions, I guess is how I should word it. Not like her and I views like we're on equal footing, because we're not. She's an attorney and I'm not. But the point being is that one of the things that she said with Ali and I when we had a show together on Death is Different is, you're right. The likelihood that the federal government, now keep in mind, the state, Luigi Manjone is facing a trial in the state of New York and also the federal government in New York. The state will not execute somebody. In fact, Judge Caro in the state case even removed first-degree murder, but first-degree murder in the state of New York isn't, we don't sentence people to executions anymore in New York. They stopped doing it. The citizens found that it was unconstitutional. And by the way, it's a whole interesting thing. The reason they found that unconstitutional is that when you go to execute somebody, you have to have a death-qualified jury, which is more likely to convict, and therefore they felt it's unfair to somebody. If you're stacking the deck against them with a jury that is more likely to convict and give them the death penalty. Therefore, the whole system seems rigged. And New York's one of those places that said, you know what, we're not playing that game. It seems like it's unconstitutional to even do it that way. So they stopped doing it. But the federal government wants to execute Luigi Manjone. But just as a quick thing about the whole, is it likely Luigi Manjone will be executed? No, it's not likely. One, because while it's the federal case in New York, it's going to be staffed with New Yorkers. New Yorkers are in a state that doesn't believe in the death penalty in the first place. So you've got a jury that's going to already be kind of leaning towards not doing a death penalty because that's what their state doesn't do in the first place. On top of that, even if the jury unanimously agrees that Luigi Manjone is guilty and that there's no mitigating circumstances that says that he shouldn't be executed, then that group has to get together and they have almost like a second trial where they determine, is death the only option or the only reasonable answer to this solution? And I agree with people who say, including Ali Benevento, in New York, the likelihood you're going to get 12 jurors to convict, much less 12 jurors to execute, is slim to none. At least that's our guess. That's our guess. We don't know, but the likelihood that's going to happen is slim to none. Now, could Luigi Manjone get life in prison without the possibility of parole? Certainly. But execution's most likely a really far-fetched scenario from those of us who make educated prognostications. There you go. That's a big word for the day.
They'll make a lot of money, the media and the advertisers will make a lot of money during the trial. And so all the Matrix players win.
Yeah, so this, I forgot, by the way, I'm glad this person put it up, EED, and that's not erectile dysfunction or disorder or something like that. That's not EDD, it's EED, is extreme emotional distress. That's the rule that I think the state could use. If Karen Agnifilo, so again, there's two ways Karen Agnifilo can play Luigi's case. My guy didn't do it, prove he did it, or my guy did do it, but you have to understand why. Now, here's the problem. By the way, I'll get legal for just a moment. Here's the catch-22 that Karen Agnifilo is saying. It's not fair to Luigi Manjone to be facing two trials at the same time in two different jurisdictions for the same crimes, because if it was just the state, if you did not have the federal case at all, Luigi Manjone could argue, yeah, he did it, but you have to understand why he did it. And his his second-degree murder charges could be dropped to manslaughter. He could spend 5 years in jail instead of a long, long time in jail. So if it was just the state, he would have the option to say, yeah, he did it, but you have to understand why he did. And if he uses the extreme emotional distress and the jury understands why he did it, and they can go, you know what, maybe I can understand. And again, by the way, in an EED defense, the jury doesn't have to say, they don't have to say, would I have done the same thing in his shoes? That's not what they're saying. What the jury has to decide is, can I understand why Luigi Manjone, in that state of mind, with the way that he was thinking, would have chose that as an option? If they can understand why he got to that point, then he can get off on EED. And it takes second-degree murder down to manslaughter, which is almost a slap on the wrist. But the problem is, because he's simultaneously facing trial in the federal case that wants to execute him, and they're going first in the state, for Luigi Manjone to say, yeah, I did it, but here's why I did it, is prejudicial against his federal case. Then the feds will just say, we know you did it, and we don't have EED defense in the federal government, so we're going to execute you, and you admitted to doing it. So, and you can't mitigate it with, here's why I did it, because we don't give a shit. You just admitted to doing it. So she's arguing, it's prejudicial to my client for him to, I can't make a proper defense in the state case if by admitting that he did it, but you have to understand why, it's prejudicing him in the federal case. So I saw something, was Rhonda posting some stuff, the She-Devil? Allie was on Court TV tonight about Luigi. Man, Allie's cheating on me. She said she was going to come on my show and talk, and I can't believe she chose Court TV over Devil's Advocates. What the hell's going on? I'm going to have to talk with that woman. But anyways, I'm just kidding. I'm sure she will still go on with me, and she's been extremely busy. And apparently one of the reasons, because they keep having, that's the thing. You know, when I kind of stopped going with her all the time, is because Court TV brought her on as a regular, what they call a, what do they call it? Contributor or something like that. So they're constantly bringing on Pretty Ali Benevento. Great. She's great at what she does. Super articulate, and great on camera. She never stumbles. She always articulates herself super well. So yeah, she's a regular on Court TV, which means she has less time for Devil's Advocates, but it is what it is. All right, everybody. One last time before we leave, I want to wrap up. We didn't get one back. So I want to do one more plug. Why is that what's showing on screen? I want to remove that from screen. And I want to add this. Share screen. So we're going to end just to remind you that in the Luigi to remind you that in the Bryan Kohberger Idaho 4 case, we have reason to believe, based on newly released public information, public documents that have been released by Moscow Police Department, that exculpatory evidence may have been hid in this trial. And it is possible. It is possible the murders happened when Bryan Kohberger, according to the prosecution, wasn't even there. He was literally in the next town over, still in Pullman, when the murders happened. If that's the case, and they hid that from everyone in America to make it look like the murders happened when Bryan Kohberger maybe was there, but not when it actually happened, that would be a major problem. So we have a massive campaign going. We've been filing, not FOIAs, Actually, I did file 2 FOIAs, or 3 FOIAs. The FOIAs were going on behalf of Brent Kopacka's military records. That's a federal record. So FOIAs was a federal thing. We're mostly going after public records information, which might lead to FOIAs as well at the federal level as well. But whatever the case may be, we're waging a campaign. We started out not more than 24 hours ago, started out with like $200 in the kitty, and now we're at $1,430 in the kitty. People are jumping on board very, very quickly. Again, please let me explain. You contributing to this fund isn't about you saying, I think Bryan Kohberger didn't do it and I want him to walk. It doesn't necessarily mean that. What it means is you believe in the pursuit of justice and upholding the law. And if the law broke the law and lied and held exculpatory information or coerced people or dismissed people's testimony because it didn't fit the narrative or any shit like that, those people should be held accountable, regardless of who did the murders. Those people should be held accountable. So if you believe in the Constitution, you believe that it's a slippery slope to bend the law and break the law in order to get a guy because you want him so bad that he must be it, and we're just going to do whatever it takes to put him away. If you don't believe in that bullshit, consider supporting the cause as we fight for truth and transparency, exposing the records, asking exactly for what they did in this case, and then if they did something wrong, try to hold people accountable. That's what we're doing. So consider contributing to that. Robin, did you paste the link one more time for the?
I did.
For the GoFundMe? Perfect. All right. Panelists, Joe, Robin. Robin, I feel bad. We don't really let you talk a whole lot. I mean, you do a lot of work, but we don't let you talk a whole lot. But
you know me, DA. When I'm ready to talk, I'll talk, don't worry about it. But one thing I do just want to shout out Silence Unchained. She's one of our biggest supporters with the Luigi case, and sometime be cool if we'd have you come up. But
for sure.
Always sharing our stuff with the Luigi case, and in general, as far as that goes, love having them in Discord, and so so I just wanted to give them a special shout out. So
thank you so much. And I think that's it. I saw that I had some private messages that came through, and I was just double checking to make sure that somebody wasn't asking something private that need to be addressed. So that's it. Joe, do you have any parting thoughts on the way out?
Yeah, somebody in the chat has just asked what they wanted to know what my background is. I don't know if I should tell people what my background is. I don't want to scare you.
See, I knew you were a fed, damn it. I knew you were a fed.
I could tell you, but
I'm glad one put it in the chat just real quick. Dago, thank you so much for sharing the GoFundMe over on your channel. Any of the other creators, Sue from Revelation Tarot, she also mentioned us. So, okay. All right. I'm done, Joe. Go ahead.
All right. I'll give you a little snippet of my educational background. I studied psychology, and through that, I was into forensic psychology and criminal profiling before I even went to school for psychology. But in school, I studied forensic psychology, and as one of the different things that I studied, ultimately, I went on to pursue psychotherapy. But that's a whole long story, which I'll be happy to get into on my channel eventually. It's kind of funny, actually. But I did go to graduate school initially to become a psychotherapist. But otherwise, I worked in the business world. I've been white collar. I've been blue collar. I was an athlete. I'm a professional musician on the side. Do a lot of different stuff.
And a gigolo, I've heard, and a former partner of Nancy.
In my own mind.
No, that wasn't you. That was Jason Esty. Sorry. Yeah, in your own mind. Yeah, gigolo. I'm just a gigolo. Gosh, all my references are so old. Maybe it's because I'm old. Anyways, thank you, panelists, again. 1-1 I see is in the chat, but no longer on the thing. So 1-1, I hope you have a good night. I hope everybody has a good night. Consider contributing to the pursuit of justice and transparency. We've been writing pretty good letters. That's why I'm reading them to you. I think that you appreciate, people who've seen the letters appreciate the letters. By the way, I have a group of attorneys right now pouring over those letters and prepared to talk about it tomorrow. Like I said, the custody queens and their appellate attorney are looking at the letters that I've already filed. We're going to have a big discussion about that and the process and how it works. Exciting times, potentially, because now that the case is over, honestly, everything has been hidden, right? Everything's been, hey, sorry, this is an ongoing investigation. It's under seal. Now things are getting unsealed. And now that it's over, we can start saying, okay, 3 years is long enough. Let's find out what really happened in this case. So let's see if we can blow the lid off of what actually happened. And again, by the way, if it happened exactly the way that they said it, then just show it. Just show it. And we'll be like, oh, okay, that did happen the way you said it. But let's see it. Let's see the receipts. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming on the show. Have a great night. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Great job, DA. Good night, Robin.
Thanks.
Good night, Dan.
Good night. See you, Joe.